A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things UEFA Champions League as I have a tactical pre-match analysis of PSG versus Real Madrid in the round of 16 encounter. So coming up then on today's episode, we're going to have a tactical pre-match analysis of a mouth-watering encounter, PSG versus Real Madrid. But we'll then start with the away goal rule. So we do know that UEFA have done away with the away goal rule. So going forward from now on, there will be no away goal rule within UEFA Champions League knockout stages. So the verdict then is pretty simple. Outscore your opponent and you advance to the next round. So let's head right into it then. So the blue team will represent PSG and then the red team will represent Real Madrid. So when you have then a look at PSG coming up into this one, they do sit top of the table in Ligue 1 where they've opened up a huge points gap and they have been scoring the goals as well. However, it's important to note that then with PSG, from a structural perspective, they have been struggling and they haven't at times played as a team, and tactically they haven't been as cohesive, and they've struggled at times then to be able then to integrate some of the things that Pochettino would like to see, like the high press and being tactically solid within the defensive structure. So they've struggled with that during the season, which then of course has raised questions with regards to Mauricio Pochettino. Does he have control of the dressing room? Is he able then to get the players to follow his instructions? And that's been PSG. And when I look at this encounter, then this is Mauricio Pochettino's most important match at PSG, because if he does manage to beat Real Madrid and advance to the quarterfinals, I think then he's in pretty good stead to then make the later stages of UEFA Champions League. Whereas if he does stumble against Real Madrid, I don't foresee him being in a job any much longer, because the whole point then of the transfer window that they had and them bringing Pochettino to the club was then to win the Champions League. And that's the one that's missing from PSG's trophy cabinet. So coming up into this encounter then, PSG do line up in a 4-3-3, and we do know that from a qualitative perspective, they tick numerous boxes because they've got a plethora of options in each and every single position. However, in goals, I do foresee them starting with Keylor Navas. This is a goalkeeper then who is very experienced, especially when it comes to Champions League football. And this is a goalkeeper then who would know everything about winning Champions League trophies, because he's done that with Real Madrid. So he's coming up then against his old side. And when you have a look at Keylor Navas, he's a great shot stopper and a goalkeeper then who's also very comfortable on the ball. So at times he can help PSG progress the ball from build-up phase. And then when we have a look at the back four then, we'll start with the left back. At left back, I do foresee Nuno Mendes starting there. However, of course, you also do have the option of Bernat, but I do see Mendes starting there because Bernat did start in the last league encounter against Rennes. So it will be Nuno Mendes to start at left back. And when you have a look at Nuno Mendes, then this is a quality fullback, young Portuguese player. So he does give you that width in vertical zone 1, where then he does look to bomb forward and deliver those crosses into the box. However, he's also then such an intelligent player, so at times he can look to invert and occupy that half space, and at times he's able then to also pick passes from those deep pockets of spaces. In 1v1 situations defensively, he's also very solid. So this then is a fullback who's really growing within Europe, and I think within world football, within the next couple of seasons, will become one of the most complete fullbacks. And I think coming up into this encounter, he will then be one of the key players when you have a look at PSG. So Nuno Mendes then to start on the left-hand side of defense. And then when you have a look at the back too, with regards to the centre-back pairing, you've got Prensel Kimpembe, who will start as the left-sided centre-back. So we do know that this is a very strong centre-back and who will then be key when it comes to those duels for PSG. However, the disadvantage that comes in with Kimpembe is that under pressure, he's not the most comfortable. So then at times Real Madrid will look then to use him as a trigger to look to press PSG and make it difficult for them to play out the back at times, or whenever they then deep within their own half and looking to play out those deep pockets of spaces. So Kimpembe then could be a trigger, because this Real Madrid side isn't a side then that always looks to press. However, they look to press at key moments, so they do look for a trigger. And one of the triggers then could be the fact that Kimpembe is not the most comfortable on the ball, and at times Kimpembe does keep his head down a little longer than he should, so it does take a bit of time for him sometimes to lift his head up and then make a decision. So he could be then a trigger and one of the weak points that Real Madrid could actually look to target. And then as a right-sided centre-back, I do foresee them going with Marquinhos. This is their leader, their captain, a player then who is very, very comfortable on the ball, so he can play those line-breaking passes from in deep pockets of spaces. He is a player then, we do know, that has come up with very important goals for PSG on the other side of the box. So not just good at defending his own box, but also very good at attacking the opposition box. So he can also then pop up in the opposition box and give you those important goals. Very comfortable on the ball. He is their leader and makes very good decisions. And then at right back, I do foresee them starting with Hakimi. So when you have a look at Hakimi then, this is a player who will offer PSG the width a lot of the times. So then, unlike Nuno Mendes, he's not always then going to invert, but he does look then to give this PSG side the width on the right-hand side in vertical zone 5. And when you have a look at Hakimi, this then is a player who ticks numerous boxes from a qualitative perspective, especially in his offensive play, because he can give you assists and he can score goals as well. And then when you then move it into the heart of midfield. So within the heart of midfield then, I do foresee them starting with Verratti. You've got Verratti, you've got Paredes, and then you would have Idrissa Gana Gueye. However, he does come from winning the AFCON, so maybe then you might have Wijnaldum. So we'll go with the midfield three of Verratti, Paredes, and Wijnaldum as well. So when you have a look then at this midfield, I think it's going to be key then how this midfield go about things, especially considering that they'll be coming up against a midfield three of Toni Cruz, Modric, and Casemiro as well. And when you have a look at Verratti, he's then very key at ensuring that PSG are able to build up from the back. So at times he does drop into that pocket of space to look then to start play for this PSG side. And like I mentioned earlier on, Real Madrid will pick their moments with regards then to pressing. They're not a team that is always going to look to press under Ancelotti, so they'll pick their moment. So at times, Verratti will be very pivotal when it comes to starting play for this PSG side. And then when you look at Paredes and you look at Wijnaldum, they'll be very key in ensuring then that they're able then to rotate the ball and at times look to progress it into the final third, especially when you look at them being in those two half spaces. And then this is where it gets interesting then, because as the front three, we have known that Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar would start. But the interesting thing then is that Neymar's fresh from injury, so it is very interesting to see if Neymar will start. But for argument's sake, let's say Neymar does start, and then you've got Mbappe, you've got Messi, who would normally start off the right-hand side and look to drift in. However, what I would do coming up into this encounter, I would switch Messi and Mbappe. Have Mbappe be the one then to more or less start on the right of the three, and then have Messi. With Messi then, what you can do is that you can have Messi look to drop in and create a diamond. And with Messi then creating that diamond, it creates a numerical advantage within the heart of midfield for PSG. It does give him that superiority. And with Messi then, you also have positional superiority, because then this is a player who's well adept at positioning himself adequately between the lines, looking then to collect that ball and affect play for PSG. And then when you have a look at Mbappe, since Hakimi will give the width on the right-hand side, high and wide, what you could have Mbappe doing is you could have Mbappe coming a bit more central to occupy the box and zone 14 for this PSG side. With Neymar then, we do know that he does like to start high and wide on the left-hand side, where then he will look to go one-on-one with his man. So this is more or less then the shape that you could see PSG taking up. Then you've got Nuno Mendes, who would invert, because then you do have Neymar sort of offering the width from time to time. However, as the game progresses, you could see Neymar coming in, and you could see Mendes being the one then to offer that width. So there could then be a very lovely relationship instituted between Neymar and Nuno Mendes, because we do know that this is more or less a complete fullback within world football. So he can occupy the wide left-sided channel. He can look to come in when Neymar does come and look to isolate and go one-on-one with his man. So with PSG then, at times, they will be looking then to create qualitative superiority by virtue of the fact that they might look then to overload the right-hand side to isolate the left, where then they'll get Neymar one-on-one with a Dani Carvajal, which then creates that qualitative superiority. Because then when you have a look at Neymar from a qualitative perspective, he ticks numerous boxes, one of the best in the world when it comes to 1v1. He can go on the outside, and he can look to come in and look to go at goal. And at times then he may look to drift into that pocket of space. However, if Di Maria started, then it would be a different proposition. So how I see it then is that you could then possibly have, you still have Messi looking to come in to create that diamond shape there within the middle. And then you would have Kylian Mbappe look then to offer the width on the left-hand side, and then you could have Di Maria looking to come in onto his favorite left side. However, like I mentioned then, that with this front three of PSG, it is quite a fluid front three, so there's a lot of rotational movement which then is instituted, and a lot of the time you will see them instituting that positional rotational play and being able then to overload and looking to isolate. So with them, with PSG, at times they will have wide overloads, at times they will have central overloads. And yes, of course, when you have a look at them, there's so many players that could always come off the bench, as they do have numerous options. You know, if Di Maria doesn't start, you've got Di Maria, you've got Icardi, you've got a player like Draxler as well. So this PSG side then, from a qualitative perspective, they do tick numerous boxes. There's so many players that could come off the bench and look to affect play. However, like I mentioned, the disadvantage with this PSG side is that at times, tactically, they do lack with regards to the shape and the organization. So they won't always then look to press, and their counter press isn't always the best, which then becomes very important for their rest defense. Their rest defense has to be alert on the day, especially considering then how Real Madrid look then to counter teams, because then we do know that Real Madrid have been very, very good with regards then to fast breaks, attacking transitions, and looking then to hit teams on the counter. However, then let's have a look at Real Madrid. So let's just move PSG back in there. So you have Hakimi there, you have Nuno Mendes, and let's just move PSG back. So when you have a look then at Real Madrid, this is a side then who currently sit top of the table within La Liga. And yeah, Real Madrid have been doing very well under Ancelotti. So with Ancelotti then, he does look to line up in a 4-3-3. However, what's key then to note with Ancelotti is that he isn't so hard-pressed then on a philosophy. This is more or less a manager then who adapts according to the type of players that he has. And his 4-3-3 is fluid in a sense. And what then they're very good at is that they're very good then at fast breaks, attacking transitions, and then looking to hit teams on the counter attack. And also then to note that at times they will keep the ball very well, because then they do have in the heart of midfield, they do have Toni Cruz, they've got Casemiro, they've got Modric, players then who are quite comfortable on the ball and rotating that ball. So they'll pick their moments. But coming up into this encounter then, I do foresee them then at times instituting that low to mid block, especially considering then that the quality that PSG has. And I don't foresee Real Madrid playing too much of an open game, because then they don't want to give those PSG players space, because once you give those PSG players space, then they will punish you. And I think then if Real Madrid approach it in this sense, it kills two birds with one stone by virtue of the fact that A, they'd be tactically disciplined, which then would deny the PSG players that space, and then it also then gives them the space on the break, and then they could look then to counter-attack PSG very well. However, let's have a look at the personnel that Real Madrid will go with. So in goals then, you've got Thibaut Courtois, very experienced goalkeeper and a very good shot stopper as well. And then when you have a look at their back four, so this is then also a back four that has quite a few options. However, at right back, I do see Dani Carvajal starting, but we do know that Lucas Vazquez can start as a right back, but I do foresee Dani Carvajal starting. So with Dani Carvajal, he's not a fullback then who is very offensive minded. So at times he is quite the conservative fullback. So he will often occupy that deep pocket of space within vertical zone 5 on the right hand side. He's not a fullback that will always bomb forward, look to hit the bar line and look to hit those crosses. And he's not the quickest of fullbacks. So he is then very conservative, and he does look then to hold a deeper position with regards to then how he looks to play. So Dani Carvajal at right back, two centre backs, Eder Militao as the right sided centre back, and then you got David Alaba as the left sided centre back. So with this centre back partnership, they've been doing very well, and I think they complement each other very well. Militao is the much more physical and aggressive centre back who looks to engage play. Alaba does look to offer the cover, very comfortable on the ball. He does look to start play for this Real Madrid side whenever they're looking to transition from build-up play and work it into consolidation phase. Very comfortable on the ball. He can also play those line-breaking passes. And then when you have a look at the left back, I do think that they will start with Ferland Mendy. So with Mendy then, is a player who will offer that width on the left-hand side in vertical zone 1 whenever he looks to push up. However, he does enjoy quite a beautiful relationship with Vinicius, because with Vinicius, we do know that Vinicius at times can look to start wide and then look to come in. Whenever Vinicius comes in, you've got Ferland Mendy, and that's when you would see then Real Madrid also then being able to institute a wide overload on the left-hand side with Toni Kroos joining. But Ferland Mendy then would start as the left back, looking then to give that width. And then when you have then a look at the midfield. So let's just push Dani Carvajal up there. When you have a look at the midfield, you do have Casemiro, who then plays as the defensive midfielder. You will have Luka Modric, who mostly occupies the right-sided half space. And then you have Toni Kroos. So Toni Kroos then is one of the key players within this Real Madrid side, alongside Vinicius and Benzema. So then with Toni Kroos, well, we do know that he does occupy the deep laying playmaker role within this Real Madrid side. Very comfortable on the ball. He does then look to occupy the left-sided half space in vertical zone 2. So he does often drop deep in that left-sided half space. He can switch play, as he has a phenomenal passing range when it comes to his skill set. He is a player then that can play those 50, 40-yard diagonal balls. Also very good then in tight situations and in those tight pockets, where he's able then to offer Real Madrid that qualitative superiority and offer Real Madrid that quality as well, you know. And whenever then they're looking to institute a wide overload and they're looking then to have that numerical advantage within the left-hand side, he does tend to drift to that left-sided channel as well for this Real Madrid side. And then when you have a look then at, so that is their midfield. In midfield then you've got Luka Modric, you've got Toni Kroos, you've got Casemiro, sorry, and then you have Toni Kroos. And then up front you will have Karim Benzema, you will have Asensio, and then you would have Vinicius. So that is the front three then that Real Madrid would be going with. And when you then have a look at this front three, the two most important players within this front three, then you've got Benzema, you've got Vinicius. These are two players then who have enjoyed a great partnership, as they've been able then to score so many goals. They've been able to assist each other a lot of the times for this Real Madrid side, and they've been getting a lot of goals for this Real Madrid side. So when you have a look at Vinicius Jr., then he does enjoy quite the dual responsibility for this Real Madrid side. So with regards then to his dual role, so at times he can be the wide dribbler whenever he does get it one-on-one with his man, where then he's looking to go one-on-one. he can either beat the man on the outside, or he can look to cut in and look to score that goal. At times, he does enjoy the role of inside forward, where then he's very good at making those runs in between the right back and the right side at centre back, where he makes that run in that half space, and that is a run that he often makes. So it's going to be very interesting to see then how Hakimi and Marquinhos manage that, especially considering that Hakimi likes to bomb forward, so there will be a lot of space vacated by Hakimi, and if then he does vacate that space, I think it's going to be very important then for Paredes to be able then to track that run whenever Hakimi is out of position, because then this is what Vinicius enjoys doing. He enjoys going in that pocket of space, in that half space, where he can go one-on-one with the centre-back, he can go on the outside, and he can come in, and like I mentioned, he can be the wide dribbler as well. So he does enjoy quite a dual role for this Real Madrid side, as the wide dribbler and as the inside forward at different phases. Whenever then he does come in, Ferland Mendy will offer then that width. And then when you have a look at Benzema, Benzema has been key for this Real Madrid side, and I think in the past 2 seasons, he's been their best player from a qualitative perspective and from a numbers perspective, because this is a player then who gives you goals and he gives you assists as well. So what Benzema is very good at also is his link-up play. So at times you'll see Benzema dropping in at times, and whenever he does look to drop in, what that does is that then it does then offer that space for Vinicius to go in between the right back and the right side at centre back, and Asensio on the other side as well. Also very good at link-up play. So at times you will see Benzema coming in to get the ball. Once he gets onto the ball and he turns, you could have Vinicius attacking that space where he plays it, and Vinicius then makes that run. You could see that a lot of the time. So when you have then a look at Real Madrid, then their key players then will be Benzema and Vinicius. And then when you look at PSG, I do foresee the key players then being Mbappe and Lionel Messi. And when you have a look then at the overall scope of this game and how then it could play out. So when you have a look at PSG then, I do think that they will enjoy the lion's share of possession. And I do foresee them looking then to institute central overloads, wide overloads as well. And at times looking then to overload, to isolate one side where they can get either Messi or Mbappe one-on-one with the Dani Carvajal, and with Lionel Messi then dropping deep then to dictate terms, as we do know that Lionel Messi is just a brilliant footballer, and he's a lot better when he plays in those central pockets of spaces, where then you drift into vertical zone 3, often drift into the half spaces and look to dictate terms from deep and look to play those passes. With PSG, at times then, they could also look to hit Real Madrid on the counter if they are penned in. However, I do foresee them then enjoying the lion's share of possession. With Real Madrid then, they have, this is a very interesting encounter then for Real Madrid, and they also have a lot of options that could come off the bench to impact the game. You know, they do have Rodrigo, they do have Hazard, they do have Bale as well, you know, so those are players who can come off the bench and impact the game, because I do see Real Madrid then sitting deep a lot of the times, instituting a low to mid block, and looking then to hit this PSG side on the counter as well. And I just foresee then PSG being very difficult then to penetrate through the middle, because then when you have a look at their midfield, and if you have Messi dropping in there at times, then it does make it a midfield 4. It does make it sort of a diamond shape, which then becomes very difficult for them to break down. So in possession of the ball, Real Madrid, it will be difficult for them whenever they are in the opposition half of PSG. However, if they do look to sit deep and look to hit this PSG side on the counter, I think then they stand a better chance. And this Real Madrid side has been well adept then at creating counter-attacking opportunities through defensive tactics. Them sitting deep, them being able to absorb that pressure and then look to hit PSG on the counter. However, how I think it ends then, I do foresee PSG winning this one, but I do foresee it as a narrow win. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Disky Talk with Liolo. Do tell me, how does this mouth-watering UEFA Champions League round of 16 encounter end? It is PSG versus Real Madrid. Signing out.